Hey y'all, today we are reading A Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, and this is by Mark Twain. We are on chapter 1. Camelot? Camelot? Said I to myself. I don't seem to remember hearing of it before. Name of the asylum, likely? It was a soft, reposeful, summer landscape, as lovely as a dream, and as lonesome as Sunday. The air was full of the smell of flowers, and the buzzing of insects, and the twittering of birds. And there were no people, no wagons. There was no stir of life, nothing going on. The road was mainly a winding path with hoofprints in it, and now and then a faint trace of wheels on either side in the grass. Wheels that apparently had a tire as broad as one's hand. Presently, a fair slip of a girl, about 10 years old, with a carterac of golden hair streaming down over her shoulders, came along. Around her head she wore a hoop of flame-red poppies. It was as sweet as outfit as I ever saw. What there was of it. She walked indolently along with a mind at rest, its peaceful reflected in her innocent face. The circus man paid no attention to her, didn't even seem to see her. And she was no more startled at his fantastic makeup than if she was used to his like every day of her life. She was going by as indifferently as she might have gone by a couple of cows. But when she happened to notice me, then there was a change. Up went her hands, and she turned to stone. Her mouth dropped open. Her eyes stared wide and timorously. She was the picture of astonished curiosity touched with fear. And there she stood gazing, in a sort of stupefied fascination, till we turned a corner of the wood and were lost to her view. That she should be startled at me instead of at the other man was too many for me. I couldn't make head or tail of it, and that she should seem to consider me a spectacle, and totally overlook her own merit in that respect, was another puzzling thing. And a display of magnanimity, too. That was surprising in one so young. There was food for thought here. I moved along as one in a dream. As we approached the town, signs of life began to appear. At intervals we passed a wretched cabin with a thatched roof, and about it small fields and garden patches in an indifferent state of cultivation. There were people, too, brawny men, with long, coarse, uncombed hair that hung down over their faces and made them look like animals. They, and the women as a rule, wore a coarse tow-linen robe that came well below the knee, and a rude sort of sandal, and many wore an iron collar. The small boys and girls were always naked, but nobody seemed to know it. All of these people stared at me, talked about me, ran into the huts and fetched out their families to gape at me. But nobody ever noticed that other fellow, except to make him humble salutation and get no response for their pains. In the town were some substantial, windowless houses of stone scattered through a wilderness of thatched cabins. The streets were more crooked alleys, and unpaved. Troops of dogs and nude children played in the sun and made life and noise. Hogs roamed and rooted contentedly about, and one of them lay in a reeking wallow in the middle of the main thoroughfare and suckled her family. Presently there was a distant blare of military music. It came nearer, still nearer, and soon a noble conclave wound into view, glorious with plumed helmets and flashing mail, and flaunting banners and rich doublets and horsecloths and gilded spearheads. And through the muck and swine and naked brats and joyous dogs and shabby huts it took its gallant way, And in its wake we followed through one winding alley and then another, and climbing, always climbing, till at last we gained the breezy height where the huge castle stood. There was an exchange of bugle blasts, and then a parley from the walls, where men-at-arms and Hubert and Morin marched back and forth with halberd at shoulder, under flapping banners, with the rude figure of a dragon displayed on them. And then the great gates were flung open, the drawbridge was lowered, and the head of the cavalcade swept forward under the frowning arches, and we, following, soon found ourselves in a great paved court, with towers and turrets stretching up into the blue air on all the four sides. And all about us dismount was going on, and much greeting, and ceremony, and running to and fro, and a gay display of moving and intermingling colors, and an altogether stir and noise and confusion. So you can kind of see how he's starting to build this world for you, and how you're kind of seeing everyone's not reacting to the people that our storyteller thinks they should be reacting to, but they're reacting to him in his modern day clothes. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 1. I did kind of want to give you guys a little bit of an apology. My last couple of years have been quite crazy. I ended up going back to college, changing my profession, and ended up having to get a second job while doing that. Off and on second job, I should say. And then that kind of changed after a while when I was offered the new job that I'm at, working with a good person who's a good boss and everything. Anyway, I should be kind of slowing down and kind of being able to read a lot more, and I hope, which I am setting up a goals list and such for that. But I am also still taking courses because I moved into the water treatment and wastewater treatment world. So I'm kind of working on trying to get my certificates of learning, I guess, through those, and so that I can continue to work here. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to the chapter 1 and listening to the ramblings, if you did, at the end here. And you all have a wonderful and blessed day.